Hello, this is video 2 on how to find a job. So we're going to go through the rest of the PowerPoints here. These PowerPoints are in the Canvas in case you want access to them later. So next step is you need to create a LinkedIn account if you don't have one already. This is an image of mine. Needs to be something professional because people will take a look at it, will access it. I know of people who have gotten opportunities, jobs, positions, career positions through the LinkedIn system. So people do post ads on there. And people also refer people and indicate that they know people and know people will do a really good job. So a lot of resources on the internet to tell you how to do a good job of that. Something you need to consider, some companies, when they post opportunities on the internet, use software systems to evaluate the software or the resumes when you send it to them. So here's a list of information on how to create a resume that's readable by the software system. I got this information from the business school. They have an outstanding career center there. So things like WordSoft template, don't use that. Formatting doesn't work. You need to use a Word document. Headlines, again, go through these carefully because some of the opportunities you're going to submit for will use these. All right, how not to. So on a regular basis, I get students sitting in my office going, oh my goodness, I have looked for months to find a job. I'm so disappointed. And I just can't find anything. I don't get a response. I don't get an interview. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And the response is that, well, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm firing out resumes on the internet. Well, not going to work. You got to do a whole lot more work than that. Finding work, particularly in the construction industry, design construction industry, is about connecting with people. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go out and talk to people and meet people and get to know people before they're going to hire you. So using something like Indeed or Monster or whatever and firing out resumes is not going to land you a job. The only people that I know of that ever land a job on these things are something like Burger King or McDonald's. So get busy and we'll talk about where else to go look for work. All right, so how you are going to go find a job. So first of all, I would work through LinkedIn. Again, I've seen some success there. We're going to go through all of these that are on here. So first step is go find a list of companies that you're interested in. Now then, if you're hunting for a job, most career recruiters and things like that tell you to get really serious about it. It's going to take 4 to 8 hours of work a week to go out there and find a good job and go through the process. So this is not a 15-minute exercise. It takes some effort. So don't wait till the last minute. So have some sort of system to keep track of the companies that you've looked at, the companies that you're interested in, the companies that you've applied to, that you've interviewed with, and then as you network with people, start keeping track of the people that you're talking to, because networking and professional relationships are so important in this industry. Actually, they are all industries, but still, particularly within this one. So we'll start with go find a list of companies that you think you might be interested in and start with them. So I'm going to switch screens and go to the internet. All right, so I Googled design engineer firms Denver. And so the one I really like is the ENR list. because they do a ton of information on it. So here's the one from a couple of years ago. This list is still true. So mountain states, you can get one for the whole country, whatever. ENR doesn't do much international, but so they have a list down here, more detailed information. And so they're going to give you a list of companies, right? And so you can go out there with these companies, look up their website, open up their website, see whether or not this company is a good fit. Is this the sort of thing that you'd be interested in doing? Find a good fit. And then take a look at their career page. Do they have opportunities posted? If they do, apply for them, even if it's not exactly what you're looking for. Say you want entry-level engineer and all they've got is a mid-level engineer. Maybe you're looking for a project engineer opportunity and all they have is a senior project engineer. Apply, okay? And that's because studies show that companies only ever post on the internet, on their career pages, 10% of the opportunities they have. And that's because when they post an opportunity, they get a flood of garbage in the internet. So all sorts of stuff that they have to wade through to find some really good candidates. So often what they'll do is, even though they haven't posted for a position, if they come across a resume that's a good fit, they'll shuttle it over to the person that's working on filling that opportunity. So again, as you come across a company that has positions open, apply. All right, so let's see if, what I don't know is, I'm going to stop share, do it again, because I have such a problem with it sharing the screen. All right, so the next one we're going to look for is, I'm interested in something associated with the construction industry. So go to AGC of Colorado. Best starting place. All right, under membership, click on it, and then there's a directory that gives you all the names of companies around the area. Member directory, look at that. Oh, you had no idea. All right, there are hundreds of companies in here. And again, this is just Colorado. You certainly can go look at, you know, other ones. So here you can click on any of these alphabets and they'll take you to a list of contractors. And here, these are categories that you can click on. Say you want to do heavy civil, public works, infrastructure. You can click on that one and it'll give you general contractors that are associated with AGC. Look at this, there's just so many of them. So again, this gives you lists of names of companies that do that sort of work. And so you can go to their websites and confirm whether or not they're a good fit, see if they have opportunities on their career page. That's how you start building that network of people within the industry and getting your resume out there to folks that will hire you. All right, so there's hundreds of opportunities there. And it's not necessarily just constructors. It is also all the companies that do similar work. So for example, there are companies that focus on just cost estimating and suppliers. And there's companies out there that really just focus on BIM and virtual design and things like that. So it's not just general contractors, but look at other sorts of organizations. Okay, let's go take a look at the specialty contractors. Similarly, so again, I've typed in top specialty contractors. ENR's got this list they put out every year, top 600 specialty contractors. This one is across the country. So across the country on this one, again, there's different articles in there. But here's your list. Here's your list of all the different specialty contractors, the big ones in the United States. A number of them hire people with degrees, experience in design, engineering, architecture, and construction. So go take a look at their website, see what they're looking for. Tons of opportunities here. I've had a number of my students and graduates go work for companies on this list. So a lot of great opportunities. Any other? Okay. Let's go back to my slides. Oh, this one. Share. All right, so we were looking at this slide. I showed you where to find lists of companies. And so again, you're gonna put together a list. I start with 20 companies. Go take a look at the website, research to see if it's a good fit for you, check the career page, apply for it. This referrals down here, LinkedIn does it pretty well as far as getting people to refer you for opportunities. Again, I know of a few people who have been successful with that. This bottom one down here, keep records. You need some sort of system to keep track of what companies you're interested in, what opportunities you applied through, and then as you start networking with people, you know, people that you're connecting with, because it all matters. I know of people who apply and hear back from the company 6 months later. And certainly with, you know, things like the crazy COVID virus, some of the actions are going to be a little bit delayed. So you need to keep track of the people that you're communicating with. All right, here's an example. One of the companies on our advisory board is Splint Co., a big general contractor that's across the country. They now have an office here in Denver. When I went to their career page, this is what it looks like, and they were offering you know, internships for the summer and other opportunities. All right, I've talked a lot about networking. This is how you're going to land jobs. This is how you're going to get to know people. This is the best opportunity you have for finding people. So first of all, we do have student chapters here. Within the Construction Engineering and Management program, we have the Associated General Contractors student chapter, and we also have the CMAA, Construction Management Association of America. We have relationships with a number of other professional organizations. We're just starting somewhere. So watch the emails, get involved. It's really nice to be able to put on your resume that you're an officer. It doesn't take a ton of work to become one of our officers. Get involved with professional organizations, go to their meetings. Regularly, I will send out information on the meetings through the CEM group email system so that you have access to that. Some of the ones I've already mentioned, AGC and CMAA, all the engineering organizations have professional organizations. So example, the ASCE is American Society of Civil Engineers. There's also a similar one for mechanical engineers, and there's also IEEE, which is Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers. ASPE is American Society of Professional Estimators. SAME, Society of American Military Engineers. To identify a few, get involved with organizations. Attend things. I know it's a little hard to do right now with the crazy virus, but in normal times, go meet people, go to these events, network and things like that. For example, I've worked with a number of the graduating civil engineering students, the ones that have bachelor's degrees, and they were looking for work. And I told them to go to the monthly ASCE professional meeting. It's typically on a Thursday evening, and they have guest speakers. And so several of them went and followed my advice on how to do it, which we'll talk about in a minute. And one young man got talking to some folks from a civil design company. He sat down and talked to them over dinner. And before he left, he had an interview, and eventually they hired him. So you can meet people by attending these. You got to be willing to talk to people. How to do it. All right. First of all, Google it. How to network at an event. They'll give you a whole list of advice about, you know, first of all, dress professionally, how to behave, how to interact with people. And so take a look at some of the resources on the internet. I provide kind of a little skit to help students a little bit. It works a little better if I have a group of students with me, but this will have to do. So next to me, I have two stuffed animals. See, I have Bear and I have Ram. And we're going to use those as other professional folks because you have to use what you have available. So what we're going to assume is that I am at a professional event. Maybe it's an AGC networking event, maybe it's ASCE, you get the picture. And so we are typically at a restaurant or a bar or something like that. And people are mingling kind of like in the picture. So first of all, get there fairly early so that you have time to talk to people. 2, don't you dare sit down. Don't you dare sit down and go hide in the corner. I know it's hard to do. You have to be brave. So go over and get something in your hand, some sort of drink. Now, it doesn't have to be alcohol. Even if you're 21, it doesn't have to be alcohol. Oftentimes when I go to these events, I don't drink alcohol, mainly because it messes with my head and I'm trying to connect business and keep track of who I'm talking to. So, but it's common in this country that when you go to networking events, you have something in your hand. And so it can be a soda or a glass of wine or a beer or just carbonated water. It can, but it's appropriate to have something in your hand. That's what we do here. The other thing is that if you have business cards, you should have them. If you don't, you should have copies of your resume. And so have a nice leather portfolio. You can just kind of tuck under your arm and you've got resumes in there. So when you get talking to folks, it's easy for you to say, yeah, do you know of any opportunities? And then you've got your resumes right there, and hopefully you can get business cards in exchange so you can follow up with people. Okay, so I'm at my networking event and I have my drink in my hand. Okay, well, I better put it in the other hand because I'm going to be shaking hands. So I have my drink. It doesn't work very well to have a plate of appetizers in your hand. Sometimes you just have to go hungry at these events. So I have a drink in my hand and I see 2 people over here talking. So imagine that Bear and Ram are 2 professional people. They have drinks in their hands and they are actively talking. Okay, they're actively talking. And I would like to approach them. And so what's common to do is I'll walk up to within about 3 feet of them, and I'll stand there. And what happens in this culture, in this networking culture, is I'll give them about 30 seconds to a minute. So I'll pause there and I'll be patient. So if they're welcoming, so for example, it's not a personal conversation. If they're welcoming, these 2 will actually open. They'll open up. So I'll have Bear and Ram, don't fall off the box, will actually open up so that I can join the group, okay? And so then I know that it's okay to join the group and I'll walk up. If they don't open, don't take it personally. It just means that it's a private conversation. You know, maybe they're working on some deal. I don't know. It rarely happens. I do a lot of networking. It rarely happens, but sometimes it does happen. And so if that's the case, if they don't open up to you, then go someplace else. Go find another group. So now they've opened up. And so again, I got a drink in my hand. I do have business cards in my purse or in a pocket or something like that. I walk up and I will stick out my hand and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Heidi Brothers. I'm with CU Denver. And most of the times you've got some sort of a name tag on that helps me remember folks. And so I'll say, hi there, you know, it's nice to meet you. I see you with what other company? And usually, you know, it starts the conversation and then I'll turn to Ram and say, oh, hi, Ram, it's nice to meet you too. I can see you with, well, Ram's with Colorado State University. My son gave this to me, and start talking to them. So at some point, they're going to ask me what I do. Now, if I'm you and I'm looking for a job, I'm going to say, well, you know, I am working on my degree in construction management and I'm looking for part-time work this fall and, you know, some sort of formal internship next summer. And they'll go, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me about your opportunity. Before you leave, and they may not have something for you, but perhaps one of them says, send me your resume and I'll pass it around. And so then you'll want to get business cards, hand them a resume, some way so that you have contact information. Before you leave that group, ask the question, do you know of anyone who's looking to hire? Okay, that is an acceptable question. You don't ask somebody, will you hire me? Well, that's not an acceptable thing to do. But it is acceptable to ask them if they know of someone who has any opportunities. All right, so I'm done with the networking, and now it's time to go have a meal. So typically there are tables, right? There's usually tables to go sit down and eat at. You may not sit down with your friends. You may not. You must go sit at a table that has no one there that you know. So for example, when I'm at these events, because again, my purpose is to meet people, I will wait until the majority of people have sat down. So I know that I'm going to a table where I don't know anybody. So everybody's sitting down and I'm feeling really brave. Be brave, be brave. This whole meeting people and landing that job takes a lot of courage. So I'll go find an empty chair and I'll ask, whether or not I can sit there, and usually there's room. And so I'll sit down, put my stuff down at the table. Now, before you sit down and start digging into your salad, you walk around that table and you meet every single person at that table and you extend your hand. Again, if you have business cards, hand them out. If you don't, you can always offer up resumes and say, hi, I'm Heidi Brothers. I'm working on a degree at CU Denver. I'm looking for opportunities. And you'll walk all the way around the table and introduce yourself, and they'll do something similar. That opens up the conversation during the dinner menu, during the dinner time. And again, I've had people actually land jobs that way. All right, again, be brave. Regularly, I'm going to send out opportunities. Here's one from a year ago. This is one of the really big events for the CMAA. Lots of owners and companies there. I've had folks land opportunities there. Special notes on international students. This picture's from Peru. I thought it was just adorable. Had the opportunity to visit there. So first of all, international students, it's harder for you. I acknowledge that. I've worked in other countries. I at least have an idea of how hard it is to go to another part of the world and deal with language, culture, visa issues, and things like that. But first of all, you need to go over to the International Student and Scholar Services and make sure that you know what the requirements are for you to work. Do you have to be here a year? Does it have to be on a formal internship? Do you have a green card? Can you just go work? What are the requirements in order for you to work? Because you have to make certain that you stay legal. One of the many advantages of working is to work on your language and how well you speak English, and certainly continue that effort. Sometimes we get international students that just kind of stay within their little huddle and speak their native language. And while I appreciate that, that's not going to help you land a job. You're going to have to get out there and interface with the crazy Americans. And speaking of that, one of the reasons why, when students come to me and there's no work experience on their resume, I tell them to go work at Qdoba or Subway or the bookstore or something, because you have to get to know what working with crazy Americans like. You've got to how to communicate with them, how we behave. I acknowledge Americans are crazy, right? I get that. But if you want to work with Americans, you got to learn how to work with them. So spend some time at it. All right. So you followed all of my advice. You worked super hard at this as far as resumes and finding opportunities, and you have an interview. Oh my goodness, you have an interview. I'm super excited. You have an interview. So now what? Oh my goodness, panic. First step is to research the company. Go to their website, read the entire website. The entire website, right? If the information's on that website, you should know it already. You shouldn't be asking questions that are already on their websites. I also have a tendency to Google companies. So say you've got an interview with GH Phipps. Google, GH Phipps, Denver, the Denver Post, Post Stories, Biz Journal, things like that. I'll talk about some of their projects and things like that that aren't necessarily on the website. So just Google them. Next thing you need to do is work on questions and answers. So when I'm getting ready to do interviews, I have a list of, in fact, I have a book that has 300 interview questions. And I use that book, and for each question, I generate an answer. Now, I actually write them down. That's how I store them in my brain. It seems to help my brain function better. So you need to have it recorded in your brain, because when you interview, is super stressful. And if you don't have it recorded in the brain already, it's hard to find that answer. And so my suggestion is go get a list of questions. And in fact, the internet will even help you with answers. This link that I gave you is Indeed's got, I think it's like 100 interview questions with associated answers to give you an idea. So start preparing, put together, start working on your answers for questions and practice them, right? Kind of like I've got my stuffed animals over here. When I'm prepping for an interview, I put my stuffed animal on a dresser and I talk to them and I say the words out loud, because then my brain seems to remember them. So something like that, you can practice with family and friends, practice saying those words. Now, then sometimes people will ask me, well, you know, I put together answers for 50 questions. What about the question they're going to ask me that's not part of that? Well, okay, but if you've actually done 50 questions and answers, you can just use one of the other answers that are similar, right? Really, the point is to have a solid answer to each question, not necessarily the perfect answer. Human beings are not perfect. Now, when you answer questions, they say the answer should be about 2 to 3 minutes. Stay focused and don't run on and on and on. If you're the type of person who likes to talk, make sure you stop, right? If they have additional questions, they'll come back and ask you about it. As you put together answers, it's very important to realize, relatively, the answers are not about you. They aren't. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm the one that's doing it. No, 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 it's not about you. It's how you're going to make the company better, how you're going to meet the company's requirements, and how you can be a part of that. So, for example, the first question I've got on here, why should I hire you? I get people sitting in my office who are going to interview, and their answer is, well, because I need a job. Well, why does that matter to the company, right? Why does the company care if you need a job? Relatively, right? What really matters is that, for example, a better answer that I could give, well, I know that you're hiring for part-time positions this fall and an internship position next summer. I am working on a bachelor's degree in construction management. I am super passionate about the industry. I have some experience. I've helped my family with renovations and remodels around my house. I've seen already that you're one of the top general contractors in the state, and I would love to be a part of your team. There you go. Done. Okay? So again, your answer needs to respond to what the company needs, not necessarily what you want. All right. And so again, go through these, put together solid answers that correspond to them, adjust them to the company, prepare before your interview. Sometimes we're seeing that folks actually get invited to recorded video meetings, such that the first interview is recorded online video. If you get invited to one of those, send me a note and we'll chat about how to prepare for it. All right, when you, down here I have the teamwork RFI submittal. It's pretty common in the construction industry for someone to ask you, what's an RFI? What's a submittal? Talk to me about how you, your successes with teamwork, things like that, because it relates to the industry. So have good answers for that. Things to consider. The industry wants someone who has a passion for the industry. So be prepared to show that and be enthusiastic about it. You can see my enthusiasm when I answered that question, why should I hire you? You need to be able to respond like that. And so another reason why you need to practice. Also, you need to be willing to work hard. Folks in any industry want people that are passionate about working hard and helping the company be successful. Towards the end of it, they're going to have questions for whoever's interviewing you. And so you should have a whole list of questions before you go in. And in fact, usually when I'm interviewing, I have so many questions that the company will usually tell me they run out of time. So, and you need to prepare to do this. So the first ones are questions about your interviewers. So before you show up, you should have tried to research who your interviewers are, and look them up on LinkedIn. So for example, are you talking to a project manager, a project engineer, a superintendent, senior design engineer? Are you talking to the HR person? Is it just a headhunter? Who are you talking to? And so you need to know who you're talking to, because that will adjust your answers. And so oftentimes when we get to the question parts, I'll turn to somebody who's interviewing me, say it's the HR person, and I'll say, well, tell me how long you've been with, GH Phipps, and why do you like GH Phipps? And let them talk. It's your opportunity to interview them back. Maybe I've got a project manager that I'm talking to. And so maybe my question is something like, and again, GH Phipps is a good example. So I know GH Phipps has been working on this project because I saw it on your website. Have you been involved with that project? And can you give me a sense of some of the significant challenges and lessons learned from that project? See how insightful that question is? See how glorious that is? Shows that you care, shows that you are on the website, shows that you can carry on a professional conversation. Probably the project manager is going to say, no, I wasn't involved with that project. And so, but then you can follow up with, well, can you talk to me about a recent project that you worked on and that had some challenges, and how you dealt with those and some of the lessons learned, and get them to talk, right? How long have you been with the company? If you have a manager associated with the company, try the, so where does the company envision being 5 years from now? What are the strategic goals? That's such a good question. There you go. So again, you can get quite a bit of information from the company's website on where the company's going and what they're doing. Have solid, thoughtful questions before you talk to them. Okay, things to not ask. Don't ask about salary. It's not common in this culture to do that. You can talk to me in advance about what probably is a reasonable salary range, and because you should know what a reasonable salary range for you. You can also go to like Glassdoor, will give you an idea. Don't ask if they have opportunities for advancement. Of course they do. Of course they do. In fact, it may even be on their website. Don't ask about work-life balance, okay? If you go back to one of my earlier statements, companies are more interested in whether or not you're interested in working hard, a little less about your work-life balance. Now, in general, the construction industry understands that everyone has to have a life, more or less, but don't bring it up in an interview. It doesn't help you land the job. Okay, appearance. In general, if you're going for a professional position, some sort of construction management, entry-level engineer, entry-level architect, you need to show up in professional attire. So full business suit, look professional, be prepared. With most likelihood, the people you're talking to will not be that fancily dressed, but it's important for you to demonstrate you know how to look that good so that when they take you to talk to a client, you can do that. So it's important for you to look good. If you don't have a suit and you can't afford it, try Goodwill. Okay, Goodwill often has some really nice professional stuff. And in fact, go find, go find the Goodwill in the part of town that's most affluent, like Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek is a very affluent neighborhood. So go find the largest Goodwill around Cherry Creek. Or maybe Boulder has got some real affluent areas. So again, most affluent areas, Goodwill, and you can find, I've had a number of students that have found jackets or whole business suits. Talked before about coming in with a little professional portfolio, like a leather portfolio. General guidance is to not open it during an interview. I will usually have resumes in there and business cards if you have them, and I'll try to collect up business cards from folks. And I'll hand out resumes because you can't assume that everybody's got your resume. And I will have answers to some questions in there and my questions. And sometimes if I really get flustered and really just forget everything in my brain, I'll actually pause and open the portfolio and look at it. And it's just kind of a security blanket for me. But most of the time I don't open it. Thank you. Historically, it's a written note. But nowadays it's just common to send an email that says, you know, thank you very much for the interview. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited. Short and concise. In order to send a thank you, you have to know who to send it to. So again, if you can get email addresses, that's always super helpful. All right. So as you progress in looking for a job and landing that job, I do suggest that you do as I've suggested in here. Also work with a career center on those. If you want to get involved with our our career fairs and also some of the other activities that I do for trying to help students find a job, I'm not going to recommend you until I approve your resume, so send it to me for review. If you haven't done all the things that I've said, I'm just going to send it back to you. You can schedule an appointment to talk to me. So you're struggling because you can't find an opportunity. You got a big interview, you want some help on it. You're looking for somebody to chat to. I do talk to students about finding jobs, but you need to do all the stuff I told you to do. Okay, good luck. You can do this.